Okay, so good evening and welcome to the demo class for GATE 2025. Now, before we begin, I have a few questions for all of you. Firstly, is everybody comfortable with English or should we have a mix of both English and Hindi? Quickly let me know in the chat box. Only English? Okay, what about others? Is everybody else also comfortable only with English? Mix? Both will be fine. Okay. Okay, great. Now, before moving forward with the session, quickly tell me how many of you are still pursuing your architecture? How many of you've completed your bachelor's? How many of you are working or in third, fourth, fifth year? What is it? How is it? Quickly let me know in the chat box. Okay, Praju is working. What about others? Anyone in third year? Anybody in fourth year? Currently in third year, okay. Gulshama, working fifth year, third year. We have no fourth year students today. Okay. Third year B plan. Okay, nice. So we have a mix of both architecture as well as planning students. That is nice. Okay. I would really like if all of you would reply. That would really help me also guide you all better. Okay. Now, coming to the last question, how many of you have heard about Exam Assure for the first time or were aware about Exam Assure earlier as well? If it if you were aware earlier, type earlier, or if this is the first time you've come to know, type first time in the chat box. Okay, first time earlier. And what was your source? From where did you come to know about Exam Assure? Okay, LinkedIn, Instagram, WhatsApp. Okay. Okay, so all your social media handles basically, that is great. So we are putting it to good use as well. So for the people for whom who do not know about Exam Assure, I'll quickly let you know that it is an edutech venture started by alumni of SPAs, IITs and NITs. We've provided guidance to more than 2000 students till date. And we also conduct various events, workshops, and exam guidance programs. Along with that, you can also visit our website for various free study material related to GATE, government job study material, workshops, most importantly, internship and job updates, and a lot more other things which are helpful for students or freshly graduated architects or planners. As far as, like I said, we've guided more than 2000 students. These have been our GATE results in the previous years, where a lot of our students have also been selected in SPA Delhi, SPA Bhopal, and Vijayawada as well. So, moving forward with today's session, let us first understand a little bit about GATE also. Okay, coming to my next question, how many of you have given GATE before, or this is your first time? Just type before if you attempted earlier or first time if this is your first time. First attempt now. Okay, before, first time, before. Okay, great. No, not given. Fine. So this would be your first time now. Okay, no problem. So, for people who've given it earlier, I'm sure you would be aware about the pattern. But for the people or students who are giving it for the first time, I will quickly brief you about the exam pattern and how it is. So if you see, the exam is for 100 marks in total. where you have questions of 15 marks for aptitude. Aptitude is basic your school level mathematics, where in 10th standard we had those equations, right? Speed, distance, time, and clock, etc. All of those kind of questions, plus some English related questions. And 85 marks are for your architecture planning related questions. So even if you see the marking division, right? For aptitude, you have total of 10 questions where you have 5 questions of 1 mark each and you have 5 questions of 2 marks each. That adds up to 5 plus 10, 15. And very recently in 2022, in the GATE 2022, they had changed the pattern where now the architecture and planning section is divided into two, that is section A and section B. So section A is basically common section which all of you have to attempt compulsorily. I mean, of course, those questions which you know you have to attempt. Now here in section A, you have 39 questions in total, where you have 18 one-marker questions and 21 two-marker questions. So that adds up to 18 plus 42, 60 marks for section A, which is common. And then in section B, it is divided into two, that is B1 and B2. Now here you have a choice as a student, which section do you want to attempt from B. So here you also have an advantage that you can see the questions of architecture, you can see the questions of planning, and then decide I want to attempt architecture questions or I want to attempt planning questions. As simple as that. Okay, but you have to choose only between one of them. So here this section B is of 16 marks, where you have 7 one-marker questions and 9 two-marker questions, adding up to total of 25 marks. Now in this, you have various type of questions. You have MSQ questions, NAT questions, and MCQ questions also. So MCQ is where basically you have only one single correct answer, whereas in MSQ you have multiple select question. So here you have more than one as a correct answer in MSQ questions. And in NAT questions, numerical type. Here, basic numericals will be given. There are no options. You have to type in your answer, whatever it is. So for your MCQ questions that you have, multiple choice question, where you have only one as the correct answer. In case if you give a wrong answer in a MCQ question, you for a 1 mark MCQ, 1/3 negative marking will be there for a wrong answer. And for a 2-marker MCQ, 2/3 negative marking will be done for every wrong answer. Okay. So I hope you have a better idea now as to what or how the pattern is. And if you see basic previous year analysis of from 2007 till 2024, overall, there is no favorite subject for GATE of the people who set the paper. If you look at this, there is almost equal weightage to all the subjects. So here, when we are preparing, we need to keep in mind that we can't only study one subject and ignore other. Like usually in college, we used to do, okay, leave some portion for option. That we cannot afford to do in this case. Clear? Okay, so today let's move on with our demo session for conservation. Now, as far as the GATE syllabus is concerned, here you are expected to know what is urban renewal, what is conservation, what is heritage conservation. So today we are going to look at the basic terminology and try and understand what is heritage, what is conservation, and basic terms related to it. Now, before we begin with this, can you guys tell me what do you think is conservation? Or tell me, okay, first tell me what do you think is conservation? Yes, quickly let me know in the chat box. Preserving the condition, okay. Restoring, preserving architecture. What else? Okay, you said preserving the condition, restoring, preserving architecture. But tell me, what do we preserve here? Is it only architecture, or what kind of things, objects, or anything? What is it that we want to preserve? Architecture and heritage, okay. History, culture, preserve structure by using same material, modern methods, historical elements, culture. So can I say all of this is reflected through your heritage? Now tell me one thing. Let's say there is a newly constructed bungalow. Are you going to work towards preserving that? Or there is some ancient monument which we would be putting in more efforts to conserve? Which one would you be focusing on in terms of preserving? The ancient structure. Why do we want to preserve it? Because let's say that reflects a part of our history, maybe. Why else would we want to preserve that particular ancient monument? Historic importance, cultural importance, yes. Also, can I say that is a part of our heritage? Will all of you agree with me? Because of its cultural historic value? Yes. So, because of its cultural importance, historical importance, right? It forms an important part of our heritage as well. Yes, no, quickly let me know. Do you all agree with this? Yes, okay. So now when I say, okay, this is heritage, I will quickly show you all some images. Okay, and you guys have to tell me whether this is heritage or it is not. So you can type in a yes or no as per your opinion. So quickly tell me, can I say this is heritage? Yes. Okay, is this heritage? Okay, is this heritage? Yes, okay. What about this? Yes, yes, no, yes. Okay. What about this? Yes. Is this heritage or no? Okay. Shantanu says this is culture, not heritage. Okay. What about others? Okay. Tell me this. Is this heritage? Okay. Yes, no. Food culture. Okay. What about this? Okay. This one? Can I say this is heritage or a part of our heritage? Yes, no? Okay. So now if I just sum it up, I've shown you all of these images, right? And for a lot of them, you said yes. For a few of them, you guys said no, which is perfectly okay. Now, I'm sure you must be thinking which one is heritage, which one is not. So I'll tell you all of this is heritage. Because let's first understand what is meant by heritage. Okay, let's break this word heritage into two. Inherit or to herit something. What do we understand by inherit? Anyone? Passed on from one generation to another? Yes, absolutely. So, heritage basically is anything and everything that is passed on from one generation to another, which has some importance for the people plus the users. Now, you must be wondering, okay, ma'am, this we agree is heritage, this is heritage. How is this or this as heritage? Right? This question must be there in your head. But if you look at this, all of this is something that has been passed on from our ancestors to us. Be it these monuments, yes, as students of architecture or planning, we are trained to look at only the built structure. But if you see from a conservation perspective, you have various other heritages also that are a part. Okay, you have various other forms of heritage that we inherit. So, what is heritage? It is anything and everything, right from your traditions to monuments to objects to culture that we get from our ancestors, passed from one generation to another. And today, what is important is preserving them and creating that balance between today's modern times and the past. That is what your entire heritage part is related about. Okay. Now, if I may say so, let's understand for a few of these images, some of you said, okay, this is culture, this is not heritage, or this is culture, right? Let's look at that also a little bit in detail from the conservation perspective or the subject or field of conservation. So, if you see overall heritage, it can be divided into two. First is your tangible heritage, and other is your intangible heritage. Now, what do we understand by tangible? Tangible is something that I can touch and feel, correct? Whereas intangible is something what that I can experience or it is a part of a process. But there would be no physical outcome from that, right? Or it would not be something that I can touch and feel, but something that I can experience. Similarly, if you see again, heritage can also or is rather also looked after from two other perspectives, that is cultural heritage and natural heritage. So cultural is anything and everything that is man-made. Okay. And under again, cultural can basically then be again divided into your tangible and intangible. Whereas if I may say natural heritage, now natural heritage is something that is existing in nature by itself. So let's look at a few of these examples also. Now, when I talk about tangible, intangible heritage, the images here that you see, these are from the traditional brass and copper craft of utensil making among the Thateras of Punjab. So if you look at this process, okay, the heating or stamping the utensils, etc. Can I say this is more of intangible? But the outcome, let's say the utensil, which is the output of this entire process, is a tangible aspect. Whereas this process is what? Intangible. Do all of you agree with this? Yes. And when I come to this is completely tangible. Will all of you agree with this? Your build form, buildings, ancient monuments, etc. are a complete part of your tangible heritage, right? So I hope we have some little more clarity also on tangible, intangible. Now moving to cultural and natural. Now, if you look at these two, can I say both of these are man-made? One is again intangible. This one is tangible. But both of them are what? Man-made. The dance form is man-made. The structure is also man-made. So that will be a part of your cultural heritage. So even the cuisine that we saw, some of you said it is cultural. Yes, it is cultural heritage. The process of making that food is a part of your cultural heritage, right? And when I look at these two images, this is basically your Sundarbans the mangroves that we have, right? So these man-made or are these naturally existing? Or let's talk about the Western Ghats. Are these naturally existing or are these man-made? Yes, natural, right? And hence these form a part of your natural heritage. Yes. Okay, I hope everybody has little more clarity on this. Now let's move to a few more other terminologies as well. Coming to authenticity. What do we understand by authenticity? Being genuine or being original, right? So now let's okay, tell me which is known as the blue city of India? Jodhpur. Does anybody have any idea why did this blue color come? Cobalt climate. Okay. So I'm sure we all know that Rajasthan has a hot and dry climate. And now, in order to keep their structures cool, what the people decided was let us apply limestone. And they started mixing it with copper sulfate. Okay. Now, limestone they thought would reflect the heat, right? And copper sulfate and limestone were easily locally available. That is why these two materials. Okay. And they started mixing these and applying. So now, when you mix copper sulfate with limestone, it gives a blue color. And that is where this name of blue city comes into being. Right now, if you see, this is the main basic originality of that blue color that we have. But tomorrow, if I take a paint can from Asian Paints and go and paint this one building blue, am I being authentic? Definitely no. Right? So, in conservation, from a conservation perspective, when I am sticking to the originality or genuinity of any particular process related to conservation or maybe the structure, the material, that is where I am being authentic or I am maintaining the authenticity of that structure. So, the more authentic the structure, the higher historic heritage value it has. Okay. The more modifications you might do where you are moving away from the authenticity, the more damage you are doing to the structure from a conservation perspective. Okay, let's come to another term that is preservation. How many of you have ever heard this news that somebody had kept a McDonald's burger in their drawer and opened the drawer 10 years later or 15 years later and found the burger exactly the way it was? Ever read this on your Instagram or maybe Facebook or somewhere? Yes. Okay, only Praju has read it. What about others? No. Yes, no. Okay. In case you've not, just Google it later. Okay. For those who have, now let me tell you that, okay, McDonald's and burger has nothing to do with conservation. But why do you think the burger stayed that way for the next 20 years? Because it did not undergo any chemical physical change or any process or damage. Correct? The same is with your conservation. Now, of course, this burger stayed because of the preservatives and everything that was added to it. But what were they trying to do? Is trying to maintain it as it is. Same is with your conservation related to structures. Basically, preservation is trying to maintain that particular building rather than building, I would say, monument in the condition that it is and not letting it get damaged. over a period of time, either physical damage or chemical damage. How many of you've heard about the acid rain and Taj Mahal being damaged because of acid rain? Yes. So now, of course, that is a part of your chemical damage, and government has taken initiatives to even overcome that, trying to protect it, right? And this is what preservation with respect to your heritage structures is: stabilizing that existing form material so that the structure, because it has some historic importance and value, will be preserved for your future generations. Okay. Then coming to reconstruction. Now, I'm sure all of us know this term. Let's break it into two. What do we understand by re? Is to do something again. And what is construction? Basic, to construct something, right? So, constructing something again is what reconstruction is. Now, in terms of conservation, or from the lens of conservation, if I look at it, it is to construct the existing structure that was there as it is, probably on the same site or a new site. So let's say if I look at this structure, it was earlier in the old times, it was this way, but later because of some damage, etc., it was completely dilapidated. Now, because it had some historic value, etc., I want to reconstruct it. So how am I going to reconstruct? Exactly on that same site with all the details that were there in the original form. I'm going to reconstruct exactly the same way, right? So that is what your reconstruction is. Now, in some cases, it could also be that I am replicating this exact structure on a new site. But if you see, in terms of reconstruction and today's modern conservation, can you guys tell me that will I be maintaining authenticity if I'm reconstructing? No, right? So same thing goes here, where in terms of reconstruction, this is something that is usually avoided in today's modern conservation because it is believed by conservation architects that reconstruction completely damages the authenticity. Because let's say this structure, for example, was built in maybe 1100 or 1200 BC, for example. Today in 2024, when I want to reconstruct, do you think I'm going to get the exact same material that was used here? Probably no, right? So again, I am compromising on the authenticity somewhere. So the reconstruction as an option or an umbrella or a part of conservation is the last option that is looked at. Okay, let's come to the next one, that is repair. Basic repairing, we all know. Let's say the tap in your house is leaking. What do? You call the plumber, right? He's going to get his tools out of the bag, do some fixing, alteration, and the tap stops leaking. Same thing. So what have you done? Basically, you have just enhanced the life of that tap. You have improved its operation efficiency. Same thing. For example, here there is some crack that is there. You try and fill it up. Why? So that the structure does not get damaged or deteriorate further. Right? So small repairs are again a part of your maintenance related to the structures. Coming to the next one, restoration means what? To get it back to its original form, returning the object or the building to the existing fabric of the place to its earliest state by removing or maybe reassembling existing components, but without adding any new material. So you are undoing a lot of damage that was done to get it back to its original form. Now, for example, if you look at this, this is Neel Gumbad from Delhi. Let's assume that this was built in your Lodhi period, Lodhi dynasty. After that, you had your Mughals, then the British, and then the government of India. Right? Now, when the Lodi, in the Lodi dynasty, when this structure was built, right, they must have it must have probably looked something like this. Eventually, few years later, when the Mughal rule started, they they must have thought that okay, we need to maybe make some additions to this structure. Let's do some plastering or coloring, etc. Right? In order to maintain it and improve its life. Let's assume that in the British period, again, maybe they thought that the structure could need some extra support. So maybe they would have added a pillar or maybe done some extra additions. Now, when this structure was constructed originally, it was in its proper shape and form. Later, all of these additions were done during, let's say, Mughal period, British period. So, when I am undoing these, when I'm removing these additions, removing this plaster color, that is what is called as restoration. I am getting the building back to its original form. So if you look at this image also, the restoration of the structure was done, where if you see this image, right, on the ceiling there was a plastering done over the paint of the ceiling, over the floral motifs, etc. of the ceiling. So this person here is basically removing the plastering that was done over here. Can you see this image, everybody? Yes, so what are we doing? We are undoing the work that was done later on to get it back to its original form and shape. Okay? Then coming to adaptive reuse. Now, what do we understand by adaptive reuse? Let's again break this term into two. To adapt to something. What do we understand by to adapt? Change as per situation. Yes. Reuse, using something again and again. In terms of conservation, adaptive reuse is related to structures or build form where you are changing the use of the structure for which it was originally meant for. Let me give you an example. If you look at this image, so this is an old 200-year-old Haveli in Purani Delhi. Okay, so we all know Havelis were built for what purpose? Can all of you tell me? What was the main purpose of building a Haveli? For what use? Yes, basically for your residential purposes. Now today, let's say the people, all of them have moved out of the Haveli. Nobody's staying there. Now this eventually is not going to be maintained. It will start getting damaged and deteriorating. Now, in order to preserve that structure and keep it being maintained, because again, it has some architectural or historical value, right? 200-year-old is a big thing. So, in order to keep it maintained and keep it going, the residential use has been converted to a commercial use where it would be used as a restaurant or a cafe. So, here I am deviating from the original use. I am reusing it, but changing the use, adapting as per the situation. That is what adaptive reuse is. It helps in maintenance of these structures and increasing their life. Can you all give me any other example that comes to your mind where you have seen such kind of examples or such use cases? Anybody? Yes, Umaid Bhavan. So can I say rather than Umaid Bhavan, most of the palaces and forts that we see of Rajasthan also have been converted from private residences to, let's say, hotels. Yes, most of the forts in Rajasthan. That's a classic example of adaptive reuse, right? So now just summing up, what would conservation be? Conservation is a larger umbrella under which you have all of these, right? From preservation, maintenance, reconstruction, adaptive reuse, restoration. All of these actions that we take to safeguard your tangible, intangible heritage, right, form a part of the bigger umbrella called as conservation. I hope this is clear to all of you. So let's try and attempt a few questions. Quickly, let me know your answer in the chat box. Consider the following for the cultural significance of the place and conservation process. Reconstruction, restoration. Okay. So in this case, yes, sometimes when we have no other option, we can or we use reconstruction, but that is not our first priority always, like we've discussed. Restoration, yes, important for your cultural significance. So in this case, your correct answer is C, both 1 and 2, right? Both are a part of your conservation process. Okay, let's try another one. This is from GATE 2008, a 2 marks question, where they're asking which appropriate word would fit in all of these fill in the blanks. So you have 4 options here. Which is the one word which would fit in all of these sentences? Yes, absolutely. All of you who are saying A is correct. So in this case, the aim of conservation is to retain, recover historical significance. Preservation is also for historical significance. So is restoration and reconstruction. So in this case, A, historical, is the correct answer. Okay, let's try this one. Existing sound buildings preserved, retained in their position by application of bylaws or ordinance from the local authorities, also called as what? Yes, all of this where you're trying to preserve or retain a structure is again a part of what? Our conservation process. So yes, even here the correct answer is A. Right. So I will quickly just summarize what we just saw. Is your basic, we first understood what is heritage, which could be further divided into your cultural and natural heritage. Again, cultural could further be divided into your tangible and intangible heritage. We've seen various examples also. Along with that, we saw various other terminologies like authenticity, plus what is reconstruction, preservation, restoration. Yes, you guys could also help me with this adaptive reuse. Am I missing anything? Repair, yes, thank you. Anything else? And this entire umbrella is a part of my conservation process. Yes. So with that, we come to the end for our conservation demo class. But let me tell you all a few details about the GATE classes that would be conducted. Also, I would give you a brief introduction about myself. I am Sai Pawar. I'm an alumni of SPA Bhopal. I've also secured All India rank 44 this year in 2024 GATE. Uh, from Exam Assure, in terms of the classes that would be conducted, they would be conducted by master's degree holders. Plus, you would be getting your hard copy study material, tests and revision, as well as guidance after the exam with respect to applications for colleges, your COAP process, your application for NITs, etc., or even your interview guidance sessions for SPS. So along with that, if you see, we will be having our classes on the weekends right now, which would be conducted by alumni from IITs, NITs, and SPS. Plus, various GATE rankers, all the faculties have qualified GATE multiple times with AIR 2, 5, 16, etc. All the classes will be conducted online. Plus, you will get recorded lectures, which will be accessible to all of you till the date of the exam. You will also be added to a Telegram group where you could have discussions and peer-to-peer learning, because that is what we believe in and encourage also. One-on-one doubt clearing session. So whenever you have some doubts related to particular topic you're studying or anything, you could get in touch with the faculty. Plus, you would be given hard copy notes as well as online notes, which you can access also on your desktop or laptop. Along with that, we would also be having aptitude classes and interactive sessions with previous year toppers, students of Exam Assure who have secured various top ranks in GATE, plus are at various premium institutes. Along with that, all the test series would also be conducted section wise, as in when we finish the subjects, plus full syllabus tests would also be conducted towards the end. You would also have revision classes. And like I said, this would also guide you and help you if you are also preparing for government exams. So the course that we are offering is not for 21,000, but what I want you all to do is quickly take out your phones. Let's play a game quickly, because we will be conducting a scholarship test where you can get a 40% discount on the amount that is there, where in this scholarship test you will be given 50 questions, MCQ questions, where you have a time of 30 minutes. And all candidates who plan to even appear for 2026 can attempt this, and the scholarship will be awarded to you based on your performance. So what I need you all to do is quickly scan this QR code and begin with attempting the test, because from tomorrow we start with a new batch for our GATE 2025. Okay, how many of you scanned this quickly? Is the link accessible to all of you? The link is also been shared in the chat box, or you can scan it from the screen and do attempt the scholarship test. The results will be, you will be immediately getting the results as well.